Esteemed participants, welcome back. We are now going to continue with a unique session, one that while you're listening, I'm sure will make you all feel very, very proud and appreciate the work put into the research in the field of Islamic banking. I don't want to give away too much about this session, so I'm going to introduce it immediately. It is titled Innovation in Islamic Economics, a special session featuring PhD research from Turkish universities in Islamic economics and finance. This special is going to be taking place under the auspices of the Salih Kemal Islamic Economics Award. I'd like to introduce the moderator, the Manager of International Cooperation and Business Development at Al-Baraka Forum for Islamic Economy, Mr. Ibrahim Al-Sayyid.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Afnan. That was a great morning. We had to listen to the communication strategies in Islamic economy and finance. And here we are providing this session, another special session. In this session, we are aiming to boost and empower, give skills, give space for the PhD students, researchers in Islamic economics and finance, to provide their ideas, to come to talk to us, to tell us about their research, their findings. This is not just a platform as an academic platform. It is a platform to empower you with public skills, public speaking skills, with coming to the people and bring the research. Take insights from them, take comments, which is more importantly to develop your research, which is aiming to develop the future of Islamic economics and finance. So think about it as a research-based and at the same time as practice-based session. So I would like to start by inviting our first speaker from Ibn Khaldun University, the Islamic Economics and Finance Application and Research Center, who is going to talk to us about Turkiyya Participation Finance Information Center. Please welcome to the stage, Beyza Topuz.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, Selamun Aleyküm. I'm Beyza Topuz. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today at the Global Islamic Economy Summit, which reflects the growing importance of Islamic finance around the world. Today, we are going through a time where not just financial tools, but also the values behind them are being rethought. In this new era, participation finance stands out with its ethical principles, risk-sharing model, and strong link to real economy. It plays an important role in achieving sustainable development. But to make these systems strong and long-lasting, we need more than just the financial products and services. We also need a strong information framework, the ability to produce reliable data, and platforms where this knowledge can be shared with different stakeholders. That's why we created Kiev Info, the Participation Finance Information Center. This platform is a key step in building Turkish vision for participation finance and a solid foundation. It's more than just data search. It aims to be a space where people and institutions can share and access useful information. In my talk today, I will explain what Kiev Info is, how it works, and what kind of opportunities it offers. What is Kiev Info? Turkiyya Participation Finance Information Center, Kiev Info, is an online platform to be launched as an action item in the Participation Finance Strategy document by Presidency of the Republic of Turkey Investment and Finance Office, or Invest in Turkey. Designed as Turkey's primary information center, in participation finance, Kiev Info aims to provide a one-stop and overall and communication source for both domestic and international stakeholders. Holistic approach to participation finance, instead it represents a broader development model thanks to its ethical principles, social responsibility perspective, and strong link to the real economy. That's why we take a holistic approach to participation finance and have built the Kiev Info platform around this idea. This approach reflects a shift in thinking, one that considers not only the economic, but also the social, moral, and human dimension of the financial system. Kiev Info's content is structured around the four main components, keeping this holistic view in mind. Participation finance institution, participation finance bank, development bank, investment bank, sale-based finance companies, participation capital markets, lease certificates, sukuk markets, money and FX markets, investment funds, equity markets, angel investing, private equity, and venture capital, crowdfunding, peer-to-peer systems. Social finance, Vakf, Zeka, Cardal Hasan, microfinance. Insurance, participation reinsurance companies, private pension system, auto-enrollment systems. Kiev Infrastructure. Kiev Info organizes its content based on different sectors and subfields that allow users to explore specific areas in detail. For example, they can focus only on developments in venture capital or access data related to sukuk markets. Considering the growing importance of data-driven decision-making, the sector-based structure of Kiev Info is not just about providing information. It also serves as important research for strategic planning and policy development. The content will be further classified as per the following sector and areas. Generally, participation banking, participation capital markets, participation insurance, participation social finance, participation-based fintech, Sharia governance, halal value chain. Example from around the world, the institutionalization and sustainable development of participation finance cannot really solely on national efforts. It also requires carefully analyzing global best practice. In this context, one of Kiev Info's key functions is to show comparative insight from leading countries in Islamic finance and to assess which aspect can be applied in Turkey. In this regard, Malaysia offers a well-integrated Islamic finance structure supported by a strong regulatory framework, institutional mechanism, like the Malaysia International Islamic Financial Center, and strategic policy document development under the leadership of Bank Negara Malaysia. For example, in this platform, not only financial service but also thematic areas such as social finance, participation-based insurance, Islamic financial technologies, sustainability practice, the halal industry, and so on. Kiev Info goes beyond a traditional database by aiming to create an interactive forum that brings together investors, entrepreneurs, and experts. Through this approach, we aim to build an ecosystem-based investment culture within the participation finance sector. Kiev Info Forums aims to provide more effective access to information and communication for users by bringing financial sector stakeholders together in a single platform. It also has the potential to be an information sharing platform that includes education opportunities for academic and students. For investors, Kiev Info Forum will not only be an information and communication center, but also an innovative platform where they can find the right business partners, develop projects, and gain sectoral depth. The slide shows a similar example that inspired the platform. Now, project will be implemented under the coordination of Ibn Haldun University, supported by Presidency of the Republic of Turkey Investment and Finance Office, or Invest in Turkey. The project aims to strengthen the strategic information structure of the participation finance ecosystem. Inshallah, this platform will help the sector grow. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Beyza. This was a great presentation talking and emphasizing on the importance of building an infrastructure that focuses on information and utilizing the information to enhance economy and enhance finance. And this will take us to our next presenter today, who is coming as well from Ibn Khaldun University, who is going to talk to us about Ibn Khaldun University project, Participation Finance Literacy Training for Young People. Welcome to the stage with me, Muhammad Ogor. Thank you.
First, I would like to greet you, dear participants, and express my gratitude to those who organized this event. And in this presentation, I would like to introduce you to a project organized by Ibn Khaldun University. And the project's title is, as you can see, Participation Finance Literacy Training for Young People. It's an Erasmus Plus project, and the project call type is KA 154. And the project duration is going to be 12 months, and the event duration is going to be at 3 different cities, 4 days, and total of 12 days. And the number of participants are going to be 40 people from each province. So, after this brief introduction, I would like to get to the structure of the project. Now, the project will be realized in 2 phases, online and face-to-face, under the name Participation Finance Training Project. The first phase is going to be basic level participation finance training. In this phase of the project, undergraduate students who applied and were accepted through e-government or e-devlet in Turkish, and Erasmus Plus Crane and SATA portals will receive a 4-week basic online participation finance training through digital content videos prepared from basic topics. The training will focus on the basic principles of the participation finance system, sustainability, and social impact. The training videos will be supported with printed material, and students' achievements will be measured by applying an online exam once a week. This phase will include online dialogue sessions with experts from the sector to develop innovative policy ideas to increase youth financial literacy and participation in the sector. Participants who successfully complete the first phase will be awarded the Participation Finance Foundation Level Certificate. This was the first phase, and the second phase is going to be intermediate level participation finance training and sector dialogue. Students who successfully complete the basic level and receive the highest score will receive face-to-face training on more comprehensive topics of participation finance within the scope of the 4-day project event in 3 different cities. The workshops and seminars will cover intermediate level sustainable finance, social benefits, and youth financial inclusion. At the end of each event, a quiz will be held, and participants who successfully complete the trainings will be given Participation Finance Intermediate Level Certificate and Youth Pass Certificate. Intermediate level participation finance training will be provided at the Project Summit events organized in Istanbul, Konya, and Gaziantep in Turkey. At the end of the training, participants will be given the opportunity to develop financial projects that will contribute to Europe's digital integration and sustainable development goals. Participants will apply what they have learned to design digital application projects that will contribute to the development of participation finance from a political and financial perspective. The design projects will be evaluated by a commission, and a 2-day project development camp will be organized in cooperation with Ibn Khaldun University for the pre-selected projects. A mentor will be assigned to each participant in the camp, and guidance will be provided on project development, and young people will be able to share the projects they have developed with local governments and discuss ways of implementing policy recommendations. So basically, this was the main structure of the project. Now, I would like to get to the project target audience. The project has 5 main targets, and the first target is university students. Firstly, students studying in fields such as economics, business administration, finance, and banking can gain knowledge and experience in this project and become more conscious and competent individuals in the sector. Secondly, students in social fields such as sociology, psychology, and political science can learn about the social impact of financial systems and the role of the public in financial policy. Thirdly, students in law faculty can benefit from this project to gain knowledge on the legal aspects of financial regulations and policies. They can also contribute to their careers by understanding the legal framework of financial agreements. And lastly, Students in engineering and technology faculties can learn how technology is integrated into the financial sector by gaining experience in developing digital competencies and using digital tools in this project. The second target is young people without education or university graduates. Firstly, young people who are not university graduates but are interested in entrepreneurship or business can be better equipped to step into the business world by learning about financial management and entrepreneurship. Secondly, vocational school students and graduates who have received short-term training can become more prepared for business life by improving their financial literacy knowledge. And lastly, young people who do not have a university education or have not completed their education can develop their own entrepreneurial ideas or gain an advantage in finding a job by gaining knowledge about financial information and policy-making processes. The third target is young professionals from various fields. Firstly, young professionals who want to specialize in participation finance can expand their professional knowledge and experience with this project. Secondly, young people working in non-governmental organizations can develop social financial literacy projects and raise public awareness on financial awareness. And lastly, the project can help young entrepreneurs learn about participation finance and develop sustainable financial models for their businesses. The fourth target is young people involved in European Union or volunteering activities. Firstly, young people who aim to participate in EU projects or international volunteer programs can be involved in these processes as more informed individuals with the knowledge and skills they acquire in the project. And young people who want to assume decision-making roles in municipalities, civil society organizations, or various youth organizations can become more influential individuals in society by using the financial literacy and policy development skills they have learned in this project. And the last target is general youth groups, and firstly, young people who want to increase their digital literacy can gain practical experience by getting acquainted with digital finance platforms and tools. Secondly, the project will help young people gain basic financial skills in budget management, debt planning, etc. And lastly, young people in rural areas with limited access to financial information can improve their financial literacy skills by receiving training through digital platforms thanks to this project. Now I would like to tell you about the objectives of the project. The project will raise awareness on the sustainability of financial systems by providing young people with basic knowledge in the field of participation finance. In this way, young people will be supported to take conscious steps both in their personal finance management and within the scope of economic social responsibilities. The project also will pave the way for young people to reflect on financial policies and participation finance and propose recommendations from their own perspectives. Especially through stakeholder participatory sessions, young people will be encouraged to meet and exchange ideas with policymakers. Through this interaction, young people will demonstrate their interest in social issues in more concrete steps. Also, training contents will be made accessible through modern digital platforms, and young people have a learning experience supported by digital tools. In this way, young people will both improve their financial knowledge and gain the ability to use digital tools effectively in project development stages. The project also aims to strengthen social and economic inclusion in line with the EU's youth strategies. Young people will be encouraged to become active citizens at the both individual and societal level by developing financial knowledge and skills. Youth will gain a comprehensive knowledge of the functioning of participation finance and learn ways to participate in policy-making processes in the field of finance. This knowledge will empower them as individuals who can play an active role in areas such as the financial sector and public administration. The project will lead young people to gain the competence to bring their ideas to social decision-making mechanisms. For this purpose, by preparing projects with financial content, cooperation opportunities will be provided with participation financial institutions and relevant public institutions. Young people will acquire the skills to develop solution-oriented projects through a platform where they can make their voices heard in society. By focusing on developing the leadership potential of young people, the project will foster the development of individuals with innovative mindsets who are able to generate financial policies and aim to contribute to society. Young people will discover their own leadership capacities in line with the knowledge and experiences they gain. Through participation financial literacy, young people will learn to better manage their personal budgets and make more informed financial decisions. This knowledge will not only contribute to their economic savings, but also support them in adopting sustainable financial habits. During the project process, young people will learn how to plan and develop a project and gain project management skills that they can use in their academic or professional lives in the future. This experience will give them a great advantage in reaching their career goals. At the end of the project, the internship opportunities provided in the financial sector and the knowledge they gain will directly contribute to the career development of young people and enable them to gain experience in the sector. In addition, the certificates they receive will constitute an important reference in their careers. And lastly, since the project will be implemented in line with the EU's youth strategies, the participants will gain knowledge on financial literacy and participation finance from a global and European perspective. This perspective will contribute to them becoming individuals who can think internationally and adopt universal values. So, in conclusion, this project will not only enable young people to improve themselves financially, but will also raise their social awareness and contribute to raising them as individuals who will be useful for society in the long term. And this was the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Thank you very much, Muhammad. Thank you very much, Muhammad, for this inspiring presentation, knowing that there are some universities, institutions, and educational organizations that actually feels the need to develop new generation who is qualified with the knowledge, who is qualified with ambition, and who is qualified with comprehensive understanding of the infrastructure of finance and Islamic economy is always great. The previous two researchers has focused on the infrastructure of finance and development. And in this part of the session, we are going to move to focus on more and different topics. Most of our researchers now are going to talk about Islamic socioeconomics concept in sustainability and ESG. And we would like to start by a participant who is coming from Istanbul University Center of Islamic Economics and Finance, who is going to talk to us about the crisis resilience of participation optimal portfolios, a comparative analysis with conventional counterparts. Welcome to the stage with me, please, Dr. Tariq Karada.
Assalamu alaikum. I respectfully greet the participants and the organizer of this summit. My name is Tariq Karada. Today, I will present you our work which we conducted in Islamic portfolio and risk management area. In this work, we studied the crisis resilience of optimal participation portfolios in Borsa Istanbul. So our research problematic is that our optimal participation portfolios on Borsa Istanbul at least as resilient to stock market crisis as optimal conventional portfolios. As you know, in Turkey we use participation term to refer to Islamic finance products. So what I call participation here can be regarded as Islamic also. To construct the optimal portfolios, we used Markowitz optimization model, and on the efficient frontier we regarded the minimum risk portfolios and tangency portfolios to do the analysis. We conducted the study under 3 investment strategies to see the different effects of the model. So in the first strategy, there is no minimum and maximum upper bounds for the stocks in the portfolio. That means that the portfolio can consist only even one stock. In the second strategy, there's a maximum 0.2 stock weight constraint, which means that there must be at least 5 stocks in the portfolio. And under the third strategy, there must be at least 10 stocks in the portfolio. You can see the hierarchy of the application here. For each of the crises, under each strategies, we optimized conventional and participation portfolios which are MRP and TP shortly, minimum risk portfolios and tangent portfolios. We obtain the risks and the returns, then we make the empirical analysis. So, in the research, we made some conceptualizations which we regard as very important because we want to proceed with a systematic approach and obtain objective results. First of all, we defined what a stock market crisis is. Generally, we found in the most of the previous work, there was no definition of a stock market crisis, especially the crisis. Instead, the time periods in the risk literatures or among the market practitioners, professionals are used as the crisis. So, in this study, we benefited from Patel and Sarkar and Mishkin and White. We improved their definition of crisis, and we made a definition of stock market crisis as a decline of 20% or more in the stock market due to uncertainties arising from various developments in politics, economics, social, or natural events. So then the crisis period is the time period between the beginning and end of the crisis. Beginning of the crisis is the first month, following the month of the highest close since the end of the recovery period of the previous crisis, and end of the crisis is the month of the lowest closing from the beginning of the relevant crisis period. Recovery period is the period that begins with the end of the crisis until when the losses incurred during the crisis period are recouped again. You can see in the image an illustration of the concepts I mentioned. And the most important concept is the crisis resilience concept. So we defined the crisis resilience of a portfolio as the situation of the average monthly return of a portfolio to be higher than or equal to the average monthly return of another portfolio during a crisis period. And at the same time, the risk of the first portfolio to be less than or equal to the risk of the second portfolio. So, as you can see, this is a comparative concept. We compare the optimal participation portfolio to a benchmark, and it consists of two elements, risk and return. So based on our definition of the crisis periods, we identified 3 crises in Borsa Istanbul between 2011 and 2024. The first one is the first one starts with May of 2013 to January of 2014, and at that period, Gezi Park crisis was the most important agenda in Turkey. So it affected the stock market as well. The second one is from February of 2018 until October of 2018. As you know, this was the days of Pastor Brunson trial, and it affected the stock market and Turkish lira deeply. And the last one is COVID-19 crisis, which affected the whole stock markets globally, and it just lasted 2 months according to our definition. So within the sample period, we also identified 2 important declines, but we cannot fit them to our definition of market crisis. Instead, we regarded them as the correction periods, and we use that periods as the robustness result of our model. So let's talk a bit about the data set. We take the conventional investment universe as these 30 stocks. The participation investment universe is taken as the participation 30 stocks. Data is obtained from this data store until 2015, and after that there was no data. We got the data from investic.com after that date. So we conducted the analysis on the longest period of overlap to make a comparison. Monthly adjusted closing price log returns are used for the modeling, and the most important assumption of the Markowitz model is normality. We checked the normality and we confirmed it with the data set. And Turkey 2-year government bond is used as the risk-free asset. So to simplify the problem, we made some assumptions. The important ones are that stock returns collectively follow a multivariate normal distribution. The log return of the portfolio is the weighted average sum of the constituents. And in each of the crisis periods, we use the constituent index components of the first day of the first month. During the month, we regarded the changes. And there are no commissions, taxes, or other operating costs, and the market is fully efficient. So our hypothesis is that optimal participation portfolios are at least as resilient to crisis as optimal conventional portfolios. We named this hypothesis as the main hypothesis. So based on our concept, we divided this main hypothesis into two sub-hypotheses. One of them regarded to the return. So sub-hypothesis one is optimal participation portfolios have average returns at least as high as optimal conventional portfolios. The second sub-hypothesis regards the risk. So optimal participation portfolios have at most as much risk as optimal conventional portfolios during the crisis. So here is the results. These are the descriptive results. We optimized the portfolios, and we, based on the weights of the output, we calculated the real returns. So as you can see, we highlighted the superior portfolio group with green shadow. For example, in Gezi Park crisis in S1, conventional optimal portfolio has a higher return, and participation optimal portfolio has a lower risk. So this is acceptable, this is expected, because this is a risk-return trade-off. The more the risk, the more the return. But what is interesting here is that, as you can see, almost two-thirds of the results, participation portfolios showed high returns and lower risks. We interpreted this as their efficiency. They are more efficient than the conventional ones. So this is the average portfolio sizes to see the diversification levels. Except two cases, in all of the portfolios, participation portfolios showed more diversifications. This is a good thing. So this is our hypothesis results. The below tables, the previous tables were the descriptive results, but we tested this statistically. As we can see, none of the sub-hypothesis is rejected. So we cannot reject the main hypothesis. And we conclude that optimal participation portfolios are at least as resilient to stock market crisis as conventional ones based over the period of 2011 to 2024. So these are the results of the robustness checks. We conducted the same analysis for the correction periods. As you can see again, participation optimal portfolios showed more efficiency in most of the cases. And again, in the diversification part, it is again more diversified, with including more stocks than the conventional ones. This is the hypothesis testing table of the robustness check. Again, we cannot reject the sub-hypothesis and the main hypothesis also. So we can conclude that optimal participation portfolios are at least as resilient as the conventional ones, not only during the crisis, but also other downturns in the market. So in the bottom line, we conclude that rational investors who prefer to invest in line with participation or Islamic finance principles according to their faith and modern portfolio theory as a rational investor should not worry about their resilience of their investments in the crisis. And not only crisis, but also the other downturns, other adjustments period in the stock market in BIST over the last 15 years. Thank you for listening to me. Regards.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq. And actually, it feels good to see that all our discussions through the last 2 days were shown in data that there are always windows to improve. There are always opportunities. There are always a window and a chance to bring more of Islamic finance and participation finance to the table. Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq, for that. And our next speaker is coming from Istanbul Medinat University. to talk to us about factors affecting the behavioral intention of small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, to use participation finance. Please welcome with me to the stage, Yücel Kamar.
Thank you very much. Actually, I have to make a simple correction. I am from Istanbul University as a PhD student and also lecturer in Istanbul University. And thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My presentation is a part of my PhD work in Istanbul University. My PhD work has 4 parts, 4 stages. And today's presentation is the 3rd stage of my PhD work. Actually, my aim was to understand what drives SMEs, small and medium enterprises managers or decision makers' decisions to choose to use Islamic finance. So, my first motivation for the research is, as in the morning session it was correctly stressed and pointed out, that we have to go beyond numbers, okay? This was my very best motivation for my work. And also go beyond financial data and focus on human nature, human psychology. And after that, I would like to investigate how subjective norms, perceived behavioral control, PBC, attitudes and past experiences influence behavioral intentions of financial decision makers of SMEs to use Islamic finance. Of course, I said that my work has 4 stages, and before this 3rd stage, we made 2 preliminary works in the thesis. First one, to investigate how SMEs that use Islamic finance products are they doing better or worse compared to companies using conventional finance products? So for that work, we focus on companies which are listed in industrial SMEs Industrial Index in stock market in Istanbul. That was 42 companies. Apart from the risk exposure, we find out that they are not doing better. So they have lack of competition against companies who doesn't use Islamic finance products. So this brought us to another questions. The companies using Islamic finance products are lacking of competency. So how we will encourage them to use Islamic finance products? So this also in turn brings us another question, that we should focus on the human. Because I believe that every financial decision is made by a human. So if you understand the motivations of these decision makers, we can do something to increase the use of Islamic finance by these companies. So our second work was to develop a scale for our main work. So we developed our scale and named that scale that the intention of decision makers of SMEs towards use of participation finance products. So we made all these economic work before the main survey, and the results are corrected us. And the conclusion was that we can use that preliminary scale for our main work. And after this scale, we used that scale for our main work, and our primary theory was Isaac Eisen's theory of planned behavior, and also extended version of this theory. Why we choose that theory, TPB? Because for attitudes or intention research, This is the mostly used theory in the world. And it's very well fit with our work. And this theory says that subject nerves perceive behavioral control, attitudes, and past experiences strongly affect the person intention to make some behavior. Okay? Of course, there are other factors that affect this intention, but I limited my work with these four. The first three are the essentials of Ayjen's work, and the fourth one is the one which is added later. So we have four hypotheses, and all these hypotheses say us that subjective norms, PBC, attitudes, past experiences significantly affect behavioral intention of the people. So let me talk about what these concepts are. Subjective norms are pressure of your social environment, okay? Your family, your friends, your business environment. And PBC is perceive of something by the person herself or himself. Let me say that doing this is easy. Doing this is not easy. It's very difficult. So this is called perceived behavioral control. Attitudes are people's own thoughts, own beliefs about something, towards something. And you know what past experiences are. And our research sample method, we focused on SMEs based on Istanbul. Why? Because the SMEs in Istanbul represent the whole country, I guess. I believe that. We have 592 respondents in the survey, online survey, and we used 52 questions in Likert scale. Actually, it was 57, but we have to reduce these to 52. And for our research, we used SPSS and Israel for the economic and statistical research. Sorry. Okay. And you see in the screen the fitting values and scale of reliability. And all these values says us the model is convenient to make this research. Data is aligned with the model. Okay, so there's no problem in terms of our research. And let's talk about the demographics. We have 73% male respondents and 27% female. And education levels you see on the screen. Actually, there is an interesting thing here. We will talk about this. And top sectors are technology, healthcare, and fast-moving consuming goods. And average age is 41, and average experience is 18, almost 19. So, with age and experience, there is a positive but low correlation between age and behavioral intention, and similarly, low correlation with experience. We can say that older and more experienced professionals slightly more inclined toward participation finance. This will imply us something also. And in our work, we see that there is no significant difference by gender except past experience. And in that manner, there is a higher situation for men. And married participants showed significantly higher objective norm and behavioral intention. So I guess marriage is important. And we have one surprising result. We find out that participants with higher education, especially for PhDs, reported significantly higher intention scores. So this will have another implication for us as well. And role-based differences, CFOs had the highest behavioral intention and control scores. And this may show us their greater engagement for participation finance. And our results and all findings corrected us, supported our hypothesis. And we can say that the most important element that affects the use of participation finance comes from attitudes. And second, perceived behavioral control, and then subjective norms and past experience. That also means for us, one unit increase in attitude will have an increase in the use of participation finance by people 36. So, our conclusions, our recommendations, we have an adoption for participation finance, but it's moderate, not so high, but it's promising for SMEs. Education level matters for us. As it goes up, the adoption of Islamic finance also goes up. So, if we talk about policy implications, we have to focus on financial literacy and executive engagement, because we found out that CFOs has more inclined to use participation finance. So maybe we have to design tailor-made, for example, education or trainings towards CFOs of companies. Or we have to increase the level of financial literacy for Islamic finance. I'm finishing. And focus on enhancing the credibility of participation finance in people's minds. Because remember that the attitude is the most important element for decision makers' intentions. And the second one was perceived behavioral control. So it's easy to use, not easy to use. Remember that. So for that reason, we have to take necessary actions to facilitate the use of participation finance by people. And of course, not only these four factors are the ones affecting the behavioral intention. We have more factors behind that one. For example, we have many factors which affects attitudes or other elements. So we have to find out what they are. We have to make further research. What affects the attitude, perceived behavioral control, subjective norms, and past experiences. So this will require us to make interdisciplinary research, including sociology and psychology. Let me say that I said we have 4 parts, and the fourth stages for my PhD work is to discuss these outcomes with the managers of participation banks in Turkey, or with the authoritative people of governmental organization, and we will ask their opinions about these outcomes, and we will include their opinions in our thesis work. And then I hope we will have a progress for SMEs to use Islamic finance more widely in the future. And you see some resources used in my work. Thank you. And lastly, I would like to thank to Professor Mehmet Saraç from Istanbul University, my thesis advisor, for his invaluable contribution to my work in master and in PhD. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ujjal. Thank you. Thank you very much. And it is always promising to talk about SMEs and how SMEs are playing vital role, and they are considered as the engine for the national and local economy development, and focusing on that from this behavioral side is very inspiring. Thank you very much. And this will take us to our next speaker, who is going to talk to us about Islamic economics in action, lessons from country successes with global implication, who is coming from Istanbul Medinat University this time, and he is Abdul Malik Omar. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you for this opportunity that you've given me to be with you here today. And I'll be talking about Islamic economics in action, lessons from country successes with global implication. And I'll actually be using inferences from what you observed, from how they have applied, and what were the results. And maybe before I start my presentation, maybe I should first make a little inference from our audience. If I may ask a simple question, how many of us here are not Muslims? Maybe by a simple point of hand. How many of us here are not Muslims? By a simple point of hand, I'm not seeing any. So how are we global? And where are the rest when all the poor here are only Muslims? What about the Christians and the Hindus when our objective is to go globally, as our main agenda here is today? Now, my presentation will be based on 5 pillars. And the first pillar will be aligning Islamic finance with global trends. The second one is facilitating stakeholder cooperation. The third one, solving economic inequalities, of course, with Islamic economics. And the fourth one is forward-looking investment strategies. Now, to begin with our first pillar, leveraging Sukuk for sustainable finance. And my main objective to point here is how has Sukuk been leveraged in a way that it has been able to attract also non-Muslims. Actually, what I'm trying to point out is in the application of actual Islamic finance, we see that we have concentrated growth. And actually, a majority of the countries who are applying Islamic finance are countries that are predominantly Muslim. And actually, if I would also break it, we first have concentrated among Muslims. We have a significant majority held by GCC countries. Then we have Muslims countries. And then the third one, we almost have mild or almost non-existent application of Islamic finance in countries that are not Muslim, or that are not predominantly Muslim. Now, at the same time also, I'm also trying to point out that part of the problems we're having are internal. We have a lot of fragmentations and in the way we are applying Islamic finance. And then at the same time, try to maybe get out something good out of it. Now, there's a good statistic there from S&P Global that by the end of this year, 2025, we expect that the global Sukuk market is projected to be between $190 billion to $200 billion. That is from S&P Global. And and then out of this, in terms of sustainable finance and green Sukuk, we have about a projection of 25% from new issuance. Now, there are 2 countries that stick out conspicuously. That is Malaysia and Indonesia out of green Sukuk. And then we had Indonesia, we had Malaysia, which was, I think, which first issued the first green Sukuk. It was corporate. That was in 2017. Then moving forward in 2018, we had Malaysia, which came in. It issued a Sukuk, and it was actually a landmark, and it was a sovereign Sukuk. And at the end of it all, it attracted a significant majority of investors that were not Muslims. And initially, actually, in application of Cook, we had seen that the majority of the investors were Muslims, rather were people who at least were familiar with applications of Islamic finance. But then when we see the sovereign Cook, we saw an uptick in actually investors from countries like we had Singapore, we had United Kingdom, we had Hong Kong, China, at least some part of it. Now, by structuring green sukuk and aligning it with green finance and ESG principles, we saw that Malaysia attracted an audience that so far is actually a problem to reach to. And therefore, we see that the way to, after aligning this sukuk with with the ESG principles, we saw that actually in the United Kingdom there was an oversubscription for the United Kingdom. So actually, if you look at this other than Malaysia, now after Malaysia and maybe Indonesia, if you look at this other country, we saw that after Malaysia actually applying this, and then maybe not a significant amount of Islamic countries have used the same approach, and we still see that maybe we have corporate sukuks and other sukuks, but at the same time, we also actually Islamic investors, not non-Islamic investors. Now, we had a lot of challenges. The challenges was actually in trying to structure sukuk, first aligning, making it green, aligning it with Islamic principles, and then aligning it with the ESG principle and other climate-based taxonomy initiatives. But we also had the problem of fragmentation in actual application of Sharia. We had different boards. Some are saying this is okay, some are saying this is not okay. We also had an issue to do with the lack of standardization. Actually, Malaysia were following their own SRI framework, SRI sukuk framework. We had Indonesia, which following the global framework. So we also lack standardization. We have seen this one is there, it's working, but then we still have fragmentation in the application. We lack standardization. We have fragmentation. Some countries are applying, some countries are not giving okay. We also had the problem of, in terms of taxation. Now, the first problems I raised were actually internal, but then the external problem was in terms of taxation, that we found there were cases of double taxation. We also found that the way these countries were levying the stamp duty and the other withholding taxes, it was not actually at parity with the way these other countries were at parity. Therefore, the more conventional, other conventional bonds were more attractive because they were given some discounts in taxation. Now, moving forward, I had adopting digital transformation. Now, we are always talking about innovations, but as at now, there are thousands and thousands of innovations in Islamic finance, and unfortunately, they exist in the shadows. And I think we are waiting for, I don't know what, bigger things that we have. Some little innovation, actually not so little, it's actually the problem of scaling up. If we see the blockchain with the smart contracts that Saudi Arabia is applying, the Sharia blockchain from mobile financing that actually is easy the actual reduced time for actually carrying out this process, where the platforms like Wahed and Rakami that was Pakistan. We had Indonesia, P2P lending, that is, at least as we are speaking now, it's serving 480 cities. Then we had Malaysia's fintech sandbox that since 2020, we have had more than 12% global Islamic banking share, now, actually, with digital transformation, we are talking about financial inclusivity, but actually the secret with inclusivity lies with digital transformation. Just a case in point, I come from Kenya, and that is 2022, the incumbent government, actually, they proposed, they actually put into effect a Hustler Fund. It was a microfinance-based facility, and the intention was to provide some funds for the hustlers, other the MSMEs. Now, Remember, these are developing country, and actually some part of the country, actually smartphones are a luxury. And then what the government does, it introduces this hustler fund, and then it makes it mobile-based. And not actually smartphones only, but we had the little banner phones. So the government showcased the banner phone, and during the first day of this hustler fund, I think $3.3 million, the first day, $3.3 million was transacted. By the end of the 40 days actually, after the first day, we were talking about around $114 million. And total of transactions with around 25 million Kenyans were actually banked. We had a significant number of unbanked Muslims, but within 40 days, we had banked around 25 million Kenyans with a simple technology and support from the government. Now, secret to inclusivity is therefore lies with financial technology, and we already have the inventions. The only problem we have is scaling the innovations, because we see there's one that is in Pakistan, or one is here in Turkey, one is in Qatar, but now if it's only working in Qatar, it cannot be allowed to work maybe, say, in UAE or some other country, something like that. Now, the thing is upscaling, and then we also have about the fintech hubs, maybe in very active cities like Karachi, Pakistan, Istanbul, and among other cities. Now, moving forwards, harmonized standards. Now, we all agree that in the application of Sharia, we have boards. We have banks within boards. We have boards within country, and we have one that international boards. But then one of the greatest problems that we are facing today, we have fragmentation in the rulings that are given by this board. Now, across this jurisdiction, you might find that one country, or rather one Sharia board, is okaying a certain, like we say, takawaful. Islamic board within one country saying it's okay, then the other country saying no. Or say, mostly, for example, for digital-based assets, I'm talking about crypto and blockchain-based assets, we find one country saying it's okay to apply blockchain, the other country saying no. But then we are all under one Sharia. So actually, the conflicts here are impeding the way our global approach to ensuring that we are progressing Islamic finance. Now, the impact, as I've pointed out, if we standardize such differences, the fragmentation, such as in the cross-border scope, we reduce issuance timelines by 40%. We will attract more than $50 billion in conventional investor capital, reduce fatwa conflicts because we have fatwa fatigue because of the conflict and the fragmentation ruling. And then we can also boost our assets under management from around 10 billion as 2024 to around 50 billion. Now, moving forward, just winding up, we had stakeholder cooperations. We need systems. And for Islamic economics proper, we need systems, and from systems we need partnerships. My case study was the Vision 2030, the whooping $180 billion mortgage-backed sukuk. The government played its role. We had a lot of overhaul in mortgage laws, and then at the end of it all, with a rise in home ownership from 47% to 67%. And then that one is an example. For Turkey, it's just an example I gave. I suggested something like that. Then actionable step was to draft PP guidelines to project guidelines from SAB for countries that can use. Now, for global events, I think most of the people say that if we are doing conferences, we are always talking, but I think sometimes we tend to underestimate. I don't know if a survey was done by the organizers of these events, if we will compare maybe partnership, rather the networks that were created from the first Al-Baraka Summit and the second Al-Baraka Summit. I'm sure if a survey was conducted, or if it will be conducted, then you will find that a lot of networking was done here. And then we also had, we expect, like, I said initially that we had fragmentation and digital asset. We're expecting for the 2025 in Jakarta, Indonesia. Maybe we'll get some standardized ruling on it. Now, moving forward, we also cross-border alliances. We have a GCC and Asian alliances. When Kuwait Finance entered Malaysia, we had a growth of 200% in the assets. We had Singapore managing a wealth hub, managing wealth for Islamic finance. Now, for financial instability, now actually we realized that most of the banks now are beginning to hold financial assets more than they are holding these other physical assets, and they are changing the DNA of Islamic finance. And we realized that the 2008 global finance was as a result of banks. When the Lehman Brothers banks, among others, were actually going bankrupt, it was because of, and we had the subprime mortgages, it was because of holding too much debt compared to assets. And we have seen a rise in holding of financial assets among Islamic banks, which of course might change the DNA of Islamic finance and maybe might bring some impact in the event that a reoccurrence of a crisis were to occur. Now, for inequality, we have a zakat potential of more than $1 trillion, but we are only harnessing about 200% of, about $200 million, which is actually a fifth of it. But we had a solution. We have a global Sadaqah app that is tracking zakat. I'm sure not all of us are aware of it, because I've told you most of the innovations are there and are existing in the shadows. Then for ethical investment, I think by nature, Islamic finance is ethical. And actually before the word ESG was the buzzword in the corporate world, Islamic finance was there, and it was, all the laws were followed, and it was consistent. So for ethical investment, let's ensure that maybe banks, to a significant extent, support the physical asset, because I don't know if, like for me, something ethical, for me, is if it's halal, fine, it's ethical. But if, to an extent, if we go towards making a lot of profit more than supporting the real economy, because we are going towards financial profits instead of the real economy. So for me, it will be ethical if Islamic finance was to support the real economy other than the other passive economy. Now, winding up, for environmental sustainability, I mentioned about it, green cookies is there. We have Vakif Climate, the Vakif Bank is funding green spaces here in Turkey. That's how CAF is Vakif Bank in Turkey. Green cookies is also there, it's been proven to be working. So it's just different countries rolling it out and ensuring that we have it all of it in our country. Now for forward-looking investment structures, for forward-looking investment strategies, we had Egypt, we had rolled out a 500 million for Sukuk, the UK had 500 euro, 500 that was oversubscribed. And then we want just the Islamic development to give us models, give models and actually that we can use to standardize models that different countries can use to apply to avoid the problem of fragmentation and all that. Now moving forward, for healthcare and education, because we don't want to leave anybody behind, Zakat and Wakif Tech, we have Pakistan Sahat Kahan that is funding telemedicine, that is Wakif that is funding healthcare. So different countries, we should roll this out to ensure that we do not leave everybody behind, because if we move, we should move as a team. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abdul Malik, for this great presentation talking about the future trends, the green economy. And if I would like to say something or final comment about this, I cannot. And why is that? Because we have our speaker, Dr. Mu'taz Abu Jaib here, who is more expert than me in fintech and digital finance. So if anyone would like to say something about this, so better him do. But looking to move forward to our next speaker, who is coming from Istanbul Sabah ad-Din Zaim University, Faculty of Business and Management Sciences, the Department of Islamic Economics and Finance, who is going to talk to us about the excellent Islamic customer and product protection model. And welcome to the stage, please, Dr. Bara Dukhan.
Okay, and this is how the stage is. It's been my first time to come to this stage, so I'll have some time to adapt to it. Anyhow, what I'm going to talk about today is totally something out of the box, something out of all that you've heard in the past 2 days. We've been listening to people talking about contemporary financial solutions. We've heard about some issues and problems about how to adapt the Islamic values into the systems and make it practically applicable. We've heard Dr. Almir Chulan today speaking about how to move from the European-centric paradigm into an Islamic-centric paradigm. And believe me, what you're going to see here is the solution to most of the problems, but these are not solutions from the conventional way of thinking. It is an old medicine to modern and contemporary problems, contemporary diseases. So let's start. Now, what you can see here now, first of all, the modern economist missed to learn from the knowledge and experience of our ancestors, and there's a detachment, complete detachment from what we have been taught and what our ancestors have been doing. We have more than 1,200 years of good economical practices, at least in the Islamic world, since the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ until the westernization of the Ottoman Empire, which we are supposed to learn from. There's a big data, big knowledge, but we detach that just to go and start into new baby steps. So what's the result? We are facing a continuous cycle of failures in the economic sessions. So we have, these economic failures, the financial crises, have become part even of our DNA, of our financial and modern economic DNA. We call them business cycles. If you check the data about the last 800 years pre-financial, pre-capitalist system, you cannot find these shifts in the ups and downs cycles in the business. There are always continuous moves up. But now this has become, so every 10 or 20 years, we have to face a crisis. It's become part of our DNA. What I've done here, basically, I wanted to see if we really can find a solution for any contemporary problems. And so I selected the producer and consumer protection as a case study to see if we can prove that. So let me start and talk about the approaches. Now, we have two approaches for Islamic economics. We have the Islamization approach. Why can't I move this? So we have the Islamization approach where we can take the others' models and we adapt it, or we can start by taking our own approach from our history and we modernize it. When do we do the Islamization? We do the Islamization if we do not have practices that are already implemented in hands. For example, this was the case of the first Khilafah when Umar ibn Khattab came and he found out that we need to record the diwans. So we have initiated the diwans, we borrowed that from the Byzantines and from the Persians. The coinage, we used the golden dinar and the silver dirham of the Persians and the Byzantines. The postal system, the barid, it's always like that. But now we have more than 1,200 years of success, behind success in all fields. We've been leaders of the world, but we detach from that, we ditch it, and now we're starting again from zero. Why do we do the resetting? Why do we do the history zeroing? Instead, we need to use the other method, which is the modernization of our historical practices. And this has been, in fact, implemented by the Japanese. The Japanese, I don't know if there's anybody from quality management here. The Japanese have shifted the quality management realm only by using their own historical heritage. They call it as the Kaizen. the Moda, the Muri, it's the Toyota quality management system. They borrowed it from their heritage, and now it's become the norm of quality management system. Let's talk now about our certain topic. Now we know that what is the modern issue of producers? These are some data. So producers, data shows that 50% of the producers cannot sustain 5 years. Within 10 years, only 10% stay in the market. That's a lot of cost. That's costing us a lot. Every business that closes means that we have investors behind them that are losing their money. So that's an economic cost that we are not paying attention to. Now, when I go into the consumers, and the consumers that you can see from this chart, these are just the frauds. The fraud numbers are increasing year by year. So no action, no modern action, no modern medicine is able to solve this problem, to cure this disease. These are the costs that you can see. Now, in the UK, for example, for the consumers, in 2018, 123 million consumer problems have been reported. It has been reported. I'm not talking about the ones that have been actually happening. 3 years after that, this number has doubled. What does that show us? We cannot even solve the problem of our consumers. And what is the cost on the economy? 165 billion US dollars total consumer losses. These are direct consumer losses impacting the economy only in the UK and USA between 2021 and 2023. We need a solution out of the box. The modern solutions are not solving our problems. So why don't we look at let's look at the root causes. By the way, this is my thesis. And I've done a lot of analysis. I'm not going to go through the data that we've been analyzing, just because the time does not allow. So usually what we do, we took the problems, we created the root cause analysis. What you can see here is basically I would like to draw your attention into the producers. This one. The root cause behind the producers, what is the main root cause? It's the ethics and principles within the producers. Producers are behaving unethically. There are some other problems, but we all know these problems, like their competencies, the regulations, the law enforcement, legal cooperation. These are from reports from world data. We have issues with the consumer. I don't want to go to that now. Let me go into how we solve that. What we did basically here, we took the Istanbul court records, İstanbul Kayıt Sicilleri, between the year 1618 and 1842. That's exactly what is available in the internet, basically. So we took these data, we took these records, more than 12,295 court cases. We've analyzed them to find out how many of them are consumer and producer commercial cases. So only out of these 12,300 court cases, only 751 are commercial related court problems. If you compare that to the numbers that we've just shown before, it's nothing. So 6% of all of these cases are either consumer problems or producer problems. A lot of analysis has been done there, but I don't want to draw your attention to these three categories. Now, what is the system that has been successfully implemented to eradicate these problems? First of all, what we found out is that from the proactivity point of view, 50% of these cases have been discovered before they happened. And if you multiply that by how many problems have been reduced, or how many problems have been eliminated, because they have been eliminated before they reach the market, in some studies they show every problem caused before it reaches the market, it stops 41 problems. If you do the numbers, you find out that 98% of the problems have been eradicated proactively. Most of the solutions that have been implemented are either regulatory or what we call them as the low degree of deterrence. The only difference between here and the modern system is that we are having a gradually improving degree of deterrence system. It is I'll just go into that one. Now, these are the differences between the contemporary and the ancestors' consumer and producer protection systems. The first and most important thing here that we have noticed is that our modern mentality is competition and conflict based. We are taught how to compete amongst each other from being as children in school. Conflicts and competition is embedded in the society between everybody. It is embedded between even the family. Men and women are competing with each other. Children and their parents are competing with each other. The employees and their managers are competing with each other. Everybody is competing with each other. Let me just go. Now the other one is the Ottoman system was more cooperative, more people need-based, whereas ours is self-centric, it's utility maximization. Ours is we provide needs of the market, then we look at our own profits. Ours is environmental friendly, it's societal system without stating that we have to be CSR. Ours is proactively CSR. Ours is taking care of the weak, taking the weak from, taking the people, the children of the weak families and growing them up to become successful businessmen. So there's a lot of things that we need to learn, but since you are telling me that we have to finish this, and we just go quickly into this one. This is the model that we are talking about, how the producers are interacting with each other as brothers, not as competitors, how they are interacting with the consumers as caretakers of the consumers, how they are taking of the society even, and taking them and distributing the wealth. Some of the recommendations we've just mentioned, we talked about we need an economic mindset shift from the utility maximization into a balanced welfare system that focuses on the brotherhood system. And here we're not talking about theories, we're talking about practices. It's been implemented. We showed 240 years. It's been implemented and it's been successful. We can regenerate this again. Okay. And I would like just to end this by stating this hadith: you will not enter paradise until you truly believe, and you will not truly believe until you love one another. I think we can revive this again to correct the market and bring us our values back again. Thank you very much. I would like to have any questions if you have.
No time. We're a bit behind the schedule.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Bara. And actually, this is a very great link between what has been said this morning in the first session about creating the value, about finding the principles of Islamic finance and Islamic economics, reviving them, bringing them to the surface of loving each other, creating a comprehensive community and connected community that works all together to benefit each other, not just a capitalism that just prioritizes the money and finance. Thank you very much, Dr. Bara, for this. And this brings us to our next speaker, who is coming as well from Istanbul Sabahattin Zaim University, to talk to us about market dynamics in Islamic economics and their effects on social welfare. Please welcome to the stage with me, Dr. Nouri Aksoy.
Today, I will try to summarize the contents of my thesis briefly. Inshallah, I can do that. So my topic is about market dynamics in Islamic economics. We have very important dynamics in Islam and Islamic economics. I took all these dynamics into account and analyzed how they affect our social welfare theoretically. Okay, it is a theoretical, doctrinal study, let's say, and I proposed some models, some organizational structures to improve some problems that our current economic system has been encountering, such as income distribution, income distribution, inefficiency in the market in terms of cost inefficiency due to interest-bearing transactions, risk transfer transactions, because today everybody is trying to transfer the risk to others to get a fixed benefit, to get a fixed return. Okay, this is also another problem. We are talking about crisis. We are talking about inefficiencies in the market. We are talking about greed. So I took all these components into account, and based on these problems, I tried to framework my thesis. So the framework of the thesis is that we have social welfare institutions. State is one of them, but I didn't study state. Maybe it is very important. There are some studies who is studying the role of the state in Islamic economics. It's very important. What will be the role of state in Islamic economics? And what will be the role of firms and households? What will be the behaviors of the households and firms in Islamic economics? This is also another important topic for me. And NGOs, waqfs, zakat, sadaqah, third sector, we call it third sector. So what will be the role? There are many studies. So based on this model, I try to work on market. Okay, what is the market? How do we define market? What are the dynamics of the markets in Islamic economics? Okay, these are the main major important playing instruments, let's say, factors or actors that providing social welfare. Okay, so and my another assumption framework, let's say, is a saying from Nevzat Yalçıntaş. I don't know, maybe some of them you know him. He's an academician, he's a politician, he's a practitioner also. May Allah give mercy on him. May Allah put him in Jannah, inshallah. He was, I took his statement, and based on the statement, I tried to build my thesis. He said that construction of microeconomic theory, micro structures, let's say, under the Islamic constraints. We have constraints, we have framework. Based on this framework, we are trying to build Islamic economic theory. Okay, so based on this motivation, let's say, I try to build my thesis, and in the meantime, as far as I know, Nevzat Yalçıntaş and Sabahattin Zaim, they are friends. May Allah give mercy on both of them, on all Islamic economists and Islamic financials, or all people who serving Islam, inshallah. May Allah put all of them in Jannah. Okay, these are the problem statements. We know that today we have interest-bearing transactions. It's very normal. The mindset is very normal according to capitalist people, because interest is not, I mean, you cannot escape from interest. You must use interest, they say so. And this is a risk transfer, in fact. Interest, when you give someone a loan with interest, you are transferring your risk. And it is very well defined in the Quran, in the Surah Rum, Ayah 39. Okay, because you are giving money to other people so that the ownership is transferring to that people, and you are expecting a fixed return in his ownership. Okay, this is not just it is a crystal clear definition which is mentioned in the Quran. Anyway, so this is the one problem of today's economics. The second one is unjust income distribution. We are complaining about unjust income distribution today. There is poverty everywhere. There are some people, a few people, who have money, let's say, who are very rich and they are getting richer. This is another problem. And the third one is competition. As Brother Bra said, it is our mindset is adapted to this assumption. We need to compete. Compete, okay, to some degree it is tolerable. We need to, of course, competition is important. But today, in Western world, throat-cut competition is taking place. I have to eliminate the competitor so that I need to maximize my profit, okay? And so risk transfer, unjust income distribution, and market inefficiency, competition, which is causing market inefficiency. I took these as problem statements to build my framework in the thesis. Okay, this is the hypothesis, as I said, okay, risk sharing finance we are proposing because in Islam we say that, okay, we are sharing the risk, and I try to prove that, okay, this dynamic within the market will increase cost efficiency for the firms. And the other one, okay, how are we going to overcome unjust income distribution? I offered partnerships, multi-partner companies, conglomerates, let's say, okay, to distribute, let's say, capital, to distribute income over large segment of society, because this is very basic problem of the capitalist system today. And the other one is the competition. Competition, in fact, is making, okay, it is, as I said, tolerable to some degree, but it is making the market inefficient. Okay, the market is starting with 10 firms, 15 firms, but at the end of the day, okay, only 3 companies are dominating the market, or 1 company is dominating the market because of the cutthroat competition. Research questions, okay, it's the same, yeah, risk-sharing finance, partnerships, and cooperation versus competition concepts. I try to discuss all these questions in my thesis as dynamics of the markets, because market is an, let's say, very important factor in providing social welfare, and within the Islamic economics framework, I discussed their role. Okay, the objectives of the study, as I mentioned, we will use, let's say, risk-sharing mechanism through partnerships, so that we will have cost efficiency, and we will have income distribution efficiency, and using cooperation instead of competition, or I discussed it in my thesis, brotherhood-based competition, let's say, not cutthroat competition. If we use this kind of model, we will have market efficiency. Okay, this will increase social welfare of the society. Okay, the limitation of the study, it's a theoretical study. I offered an organizational structure, multi-partner companies. Think of it as a Islamic banks, let's say, but it's not a bank. It is a firm. It will be so. The, let's say, practical reflection of the thesis will be the multi-partner companies. We can revive. We can construct these multi-partner companies so that many people with small savings can be partner of this company, and the company, the shirkat, let's say, there will be a musharaka agreement between the customers and the company, so that the company will perform many, let's say, investments ranging from construction to trade, let's say, to agriculture, and then the profit will be distributed. Okay. So the methodology, okay, I used computational model, math model, Lagrange function to prove the cost efficiency mechanism. I used Python, again, to prove cost efficiency using average cost and marginal cost. And then it is in fact a theoretical analysis, as I mentioned. So this is the conceptual framework. Okay, this is very important. Interest-free financing, partnerships. Interest-free financing is causing cost efficiency. Partnerships is causing just income distribution, and cooperation is causing market efficiency. These are the market dynamics. Through markets, they are contributing to social economic welfare positively. Okay, this is the structure of multi-partner companies. I try to organize the structure of such a company, some auditing mechanism, what will be the role of the government to audit this company, independent auditing mechanism, Sharia board within this company. Okay, conclusion, okay, this is the conclusion. Risk-sharing dynamic and cost efficiency. In the thesis, I discussed if we use risk-sharing mechanism, we will have cost efficiency, okay? And partnership dynamic, if we use partnerships and the implementation of this partnership is multi-partner companies, if we apply, because it is applicable, we experienced this kind of companies in the times of 19th in Turkey, so we can revive it. I propose these partnership companies, and they will provide income distribution efficiency. And the last one, cooperation dynamic instead of competition, cutthroat competition, and it will provide market efficiency. Thank you.
This was a powerful presentation to bring us all awake again. And let's continue with our next speaker, who is talking generally about the use of istijrar contracts as financing model for Islamic banks in Turkey. Let's welcome Safiya Sina Baitin, coming from Marmara University. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Safiya Sina Baitin Gürler. I'm an MA candidate at Institute of Islamic Economics and Finance in Marmara University. And also, I've been working for a participation bank in Istanbul for slightly more than a year now as a Sharia compliance specialist. It's not the official title, but it's basically what we do in practice. Today, I will present the research conducted by me and my professor, Saim Kayadibi, in Marmara University as my supervisor, titled as Use of Istijrar Contract as Financing Model for Islamic Banks in Turkey. In this research, we prefer the term Islamic banks due to its global usage. So instead of the participation banks, so every time I say Islamic banks in Turkey, it will refer to the participation banks in Turkey. So the purpose of this paper is to offer a standardized financing model of istijrar contract for Islamic banks in Turkey. We have three parts in this presentation. First, I will introduce the background of the research. Second, I will mention the literature, what has been discussed in this issue. And I will mention the practice in global context and also in Turkey. And the last one is the proposed model section. I will briefly mention about the model that we developed for the Islamic banks in Turkey. So here we have the Murabaha financing model for Islamic banks. As all you know, Murabaha financing is the most known and most used model for financing in Islamic banking. And if someone wants to buy a house or a car, it is easy and practical for both the customer and the Islamic bank. However, in cases when the customer needs to purchase goods, raw materials continuously and repeatedly, the process may be challenging for both parties in terms of both operation and Sharia compliance. For example, the customer may benefit from the product at the stage of the before the stage of the subject matter's ownership transfers to him. So this may create a Sharia compliance risk. To find a solution, we don't need to go so far. The answer is in our tradition, which is called veresiye. Just like the istijar contract, in veresiye practice, the seller keeps the record of the amounts regarding the sales, and offer and acceptance step isn't practiced as usual. The customer can benefit from the goods as soon as possessed without mentioning the price and making the payment. To draw a fix and frame model for istijrar, we did a literature review and compared the existing practices in both global context and Turkish practice. In the literature, Sharia compliance of istijrar contract is the dominantly discussed subject. It can be summarized as Hanafi scholars permitted istijrar based on istihsan, public benefit, the customer practices, public necessity, and the aim of facilitating daily life. About the validity discussion due to the uncertainty of the price, especially Maliki jurists had their hesitation, while others accept the validity if the subject matter is of the standard type, the misliya. In IOF's Sharia standard, it was 31st, I guess, the garar in istijrar contract is considered as forgivable garar. So Osmani mentions 3 conditions for this type of istijrar to be permissible in the 3 different situations. If the seller discloses the price of the goods for each transaction, the sale is valid only when the buyer takes possession of the goods, with payment made after all transactions are completed. The second one is if the seller does not disclose the price each time, but both parties understand that the goods are sold at a market value. The third one is if the price is unknown at the time of possession, or if the parties agree to flexible pricing arrangement, the sale may be still valid, he says. So beside of the discussion on Sharia compliance, the price determination in istijrar contract is discussed in existing literature. One specific suggestion by Ubaidullah is about istijrar with khiyar al-shart, options with conditions, which is a combination of 2 different models settling the price according to the preset thresholds conditions and average market price, the Asian options and barrier options. And moreover, Kadir condensed and summarized 3 different options for determination of the price as leaving the price determination to the market or to the seller or to the agreement between the parties at the time of settlement. After the discussion in the literature, we compared the practice of istijrar in global context. I will not go into details for each one of them, but it can be seen that in most cases, istijrar contract is offered as an alternative to other contracts such as murabaha and tawarruk, and offered as an import financing product. In the third stage, we examined the practice of istijrar in Turkey. In summary, it is allowed for Islamic banks in Turkey to use istijrar contract as a method of financing, both in the legal and Sharia compliance terms. There's only one specific restriction for the use of istijrar, which is that the financing electricity, water, and gas is not allowed by using istijrar by the Central Sharia Board of Participation Banks Association of Turkey. When we analyze the literature and existing practices, we see that the first majority of the discussion in the literature is on permissibility. The second, this istijrar contract is not regulated or standardized as a fixed and frame model by the standardization bodies. Third, in Turkey, the details about istijar contract are mentioned in the customer notification forms that the Islamic banks use for financing processes in a basic level that is not enough for developing a whole model, whole independent model. And fourth, existing practices and proposed models are either a combination, not an independent model, or not suitable for Turkish practice. Therefore, the research will contribute by offering a detailed model of istijar contract as a financing mode, being both independently structured and suitable for Turkish practice. In our model, we added the Islamic bank as a party into the classical istijar contract, which resembles veresiye tradition. As you can see, there are dotted lines, not only the usual line. Those dotted lines refer to the repeated and continuous processes. They can be simultaneously, or they can be like several times at under one financing process. The process starts as murabahadu until the Islamic banks appoints the customer as an agent. After that point, the process is no longer linear, as I say. It can be simultaneously and multiple times of purchasing. So the customer purchases goods at different points of time period, and the price is determined between the Islamic bank and the customer when the due date has come for each transaction. In the research paper, we discussed the details of each step. However, I will not mention all of them here for the time concerns. But I should point out that the model allows customer to benefit from the goods, the raw material, immediately as soon as he possessed, and gives the opportunity to parties to agree on the price on the payment due date. Because the subject matter is standard type, the price determination doesn't create disadvantages for neither side. In conclusion, I can say that it is important to bring a method rooted in our culture into the modern banking system. Hopefully, this model facilitates the process for Islamic banks to finance the needs of customers who conduct businesses in production and trade, which contributes to the real economy in Turkey. And as it is mentioned in the previous session, that this is from our culture. This model is known by the people, so it can be a very productive and beneficial for the Islamic banks in Turkey to finance the real economy, the small and also the big businesses in production. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you very much, Safiya. And it is always seen that Islamic finance has still a lot of areas to be discovered, a lot of contracts, a lot of methods, financing products, and approaches to go through, which is creating the full potential of Islamic finance and economy in the whole world. Now, this leads us with the last speaker we have today, who is coming as well from Marmara University to talk to us about Islamic finance and the sustainable development goals, convergences and divergence of targets. Welcome with me to the stage, please, Ibrahim Al-Azraq.
أشكر الجميع على الحضور، وأشكر كذلك قمة البركة على التنظيم يعني هذه الفعالية، وأشكر كذلك موسيف وجامعة مرمل على تقديم لهذا العرض مع وجود كفاءات عديدة جدا. الموضوع التمويل الإسلامي وأهداف التنمية المستدامة، اشتراك المقاصد وافتراقها. I will produce this presentation in Arabic. In the end of the presentation, I can give a brief or summary in English, or Mr. Mu'taz can do that. الموضوع يتعلق بالتمويل الإسلامي وأهداف التنمية المستدامة، اشتراك المقاصد وافتراقها. الغرض الرئيس من هذا الموضوع هو فحص مدى توافق أهداف التنمية المستدامة مع مقاصد الشريعة الإسلامية، هل هي متوافقة، تتقاطع، يوجد تعارض أو لا. والقضية الهدف الكبير يعني ضمن هذا العمل هو تقديم نموذج يمكن من خلاله قياس هذا التوافق من عدمه بدقة، لا يكون الكلام مرسلا بغير براهين، لكن بصورة علمية نقيس هذا التوافق أو الاختلاف بين الشريعة وبين أهداف التنمية المستدامة. والخلاصة التي وصلت إليها الدراسة هي أن الشريعة الإسلامية ومقاصد التمويل خاصة، مقاصد التمويل اللي هي المقاصد الخاصة بالتمويل في الشريعة الإسلامية يعني تتفق في مساحة واسعة جدا مع أهداف التنمية المستدامة، بل مقاصد الشريعة الإسلامية ومقاصد التمويل الإسلامي لا يفي بها التمويل التقليدي في خدمة أهداف التنمية المستدامة. التمويل التقليدي يعني هو عبارة عن تمويل استثماري، وهذا جانب أو صايد واحد من أقسام التمويل الإسلامي. التمويل الإسلامي مجال أوسع، فيه المجال الخيري، والمجال الخيري نفسه أنواع. لذلك لابد يعني أن نبين هذا المفهوم. التمويل الإسلامي هو توفير الموارد المالية والاقتصادية، وهذا أي تمويل يعني يجتمع في هذا المفهوم، توفير الموارد المالية والاقتصادية. لكن يشترط التمويل الإسلامي أن يكون النشاط مباحاً، وكذلك أن تكون طرق التمويل مباحة. الأنشطة المباحة في الشريعة الإسلامية ما هي واسعة جدا، يعني هم يحصرون أصول المعاملات المحرمة. أول من ابتكر هذا التقسيم في نظري هو ابن رشد الحفيد في بداية المجتهد ونهاية المقتصد، ثم تبعه الناس، القرافي، ثم ابن تيمية، ابن القيم، ثم جاء الشاطبي بعد ذلك. ابن رشد بنى كتابه بداية المجتهد ونهاية المقتصد، فرعه على أصول هذه المعاملات المحرمة، والناس تعبر عنها بتعبيرات مختلفة، لكن يتفقون في منع الربا، ويتفقون في منع الغرر، ويقصدون يعني بالغرر مفهومه الواسع الذي يشمل الجهالة، ويعني جهالة العين أو الصفة. وكذلك من الأصول التي تمنع تحريم المعاملات في الإسلام قضية الظلم، ويعبر بعضهم ببعض الأمثلة التفصيلية، يعني يذكرون النجش، يذكرون التدليس، يذكرون أمور من هذا القبيل ترد إلى الظلم. وبعضهم كذلك يقسمها، وهذا الذي جرى عليه ابن رشد، فيما حاصله الضرر والإضرار، منع الضرر ومنع الإضرار. ثم بعد ذلك كيف يكون هذا التمويل الذي يفي بهذه الأنشطة؟ يكون عن طريق عقود فيها انتقال ملكية، أو عقود فيها كسب ملكية بنوع من الجهد والعمل البدني. الانتقال قد يكون طبيعي عن طريق وراثة، قد يكون قربة، زكاة، صدقة، قد يكون عن طريق حيازة للماء مثلا، ثم بئر ثم بيعه، وقد يكون كذلك عن طريق المعاوضة أو المبادلة كما في عقود البيوع المشهورة عندنا. أما الكسب فهو في الغالب يعني يطلقونه وهم يقسمون إلى كسب وانتقال، لأن في هذا مقاصد للشريعة، وفي هذا كذلك مقاصد أخرى جزئية للشريعة. الكسب يكون بالعقود المنعقدة على الأبدان، مثل المساقات والمزارعة، وبعض الإيجارات على الأبدان، بعض الأجعال، وهكذا. وأنواع التمويل هذا في جملتها إما يكون مشروع، ونعني بالمشروع الذي جاءت به الشريعة، سواء كان واجب، والتمويل الواجب من أكبره وأهمه الزكاة، وهناك أشياء أخرى يعني طبعا غير الزكاة، لكن البند الكبير عندنا هو الزكاة. أما قضية النفقات الواجبة، قضية النذور، قضية التطهير أو غيره، فهذه أمور يعني أخرى ملحقة. فالمشروع نعني به الواجب، والمندوب كذلك بأصل الشرع مثل الصدقات، الأوقاف، العمرة ونحوها. وعندنا كذلك الجائز بنص الشرع مثل العقود المسمات في الشريعة، هذه كلها تندرج في المشروع. أما المباح فالمقصود به المباح الإباحة العامة المبقية على العدم الأصلي أو على يعني أصل الإباحة العام الذي لم تفده النصوص. والتمويل المحرم هو التمويل الذي اشتمل على واحد من الأربعة إشكالات التي ذكرناها في الأنشطة المباحة. علاقة ذلك بالتنمية المستدامة، التنمية المستدامة يعرفونها بأنها التنمية التي تفي بحاجات الحاضر دون إخلال بقدرة الأجيال المقبلة على الوفاء باحتياجاتها. ففيها مفهومين أساسيان، احتياجات ومفهوم قيود، تمنع معاملات وكذلك تلبي احتياجات. الاحتياجات يعني تصب في أهداف معينة من أهمها القضاء على الفقر، القضاء على الجوع، الصحة وهلم جرة. والقيود تجدها في كثير من الأهداف البيئية، الحياة في تحت الماء، الحياة في البراري، والبيئة النظيفة ونحو ذلك. والامتناع عن التمويل يعني في الشريعة الإسلامية التمويل المحرم، حتى المحرم، يعني نحن لا، التمويل الإسلامي لا يزيد عن التمويل التقليدي فقط بقضية كونه يوجب ويفرض ويندب إلى أنواع لا تخدمها الجهات التقليدية بالزكاة والصدقات والأوقاف وهلم جرة. فوق ذلك هو يمنع. لذلك تجدون مثلا معيار تي حق الأسهم ينص على أنشطة محرمة لا يجوز تمويلها، كذلك أيوفي هو يجملها والتي يفصلها. وهذا يجتمع مع مقاصد التنمية المستدامة في منع الضرر الذي هو بيكون بتوفير الحاجات في الراهنة، نعم، ومنع الإضرار بما يستقبل، وهما كما رأيتم من أصول التمويل المباح. أما علاقة مقاصد الشريعة بأهداف التنمية المستدامة، الهدف الأساس كما قرر الشاطبي من وضع الشريعة هو يعني تكميل المصالح أو تحصيل المصالح وتكميلها وتقليل المفاسد. هذا هو الهدف العام من وضع الشريعة الإسلامية. ثم المصالح فيها على رتب، ضرورية وحاجية وتحسينية، وهذه الثلاثة مرتبطة بالضروريات الخمس. الضروريات الخمس كلها فيها هذه المراتب الثلاث، فهذا الذي جاءت به الشريعة. فالقصد الأول من وضع الشريعة هو تحصيل المصالح. المصالح هذه مرتبطة بالضروريات الخمس. من المعاني الجامعة للضروريات الثلاث بعد طبعا الضرورة الدين قد لا تأتي في ضمن أهداف التنمية المستدامة التي تعنى بها التنمية المستدامة، لكنها في اعتقاد المسلمين يعني ترتبط بذلك ارتباطا وثيقا الذي يتأمل حتى العبادات المحضة، الصلاة، الزكاة، الصيام، الحج، يعني يجد فيه ظهور معنى المصالح الدنيوية التي ترعاها تلك الأهداف بجلاء. يعني الصلاة فيها من الاجتماع والشراكات والتعارف، والزكاة فيها كذلك من البذل المالي ما هو واضح وتسد به كما سيأتي يعني حاجيات وضروريات كثيرة جدا. كذلك الصيام في قضايا الصحة، كذلك الحج الله عز وجل يقول يشهد منافع لهم. لكن نبه الآمدي على أن حفظ النفس يعني يلزم من حفظ العقل وحفظ المال وحفظ النسل. فالذي يتأمل أهداف التنمية المستدامة يجد أن حفظ النفس يتصل اتصالا مع حفظ النسل بأكثر من 10 أهداف يعني بادية أمامكم. كذلك حفظ المال قد يكون متعلق ببعض هذه الأهداف دون بعضها، بالذات التي تمس العمل اللائق والاستهلاك والإنتاج المسؤول وعقد الشراكات وكذلك الطاقة النظيفة. هناك أهداف أو هدف وحيد يقل تعلقه وهو الهدف الخامس من أهداف التنمية المستدامة، يتداخل في الحقيقة مع مقاصد الشريعة الإسلامية لكنه لا يتطابق، هناك نسبة مقدرة من التوافق الجزئي. فهذا الهدف الأول من وضع الشريعة تحصيل المصالح. من مقاصد كذلك الكلية للشريعة الإسلامية وضع المكلف تحت أحكام التكليف. ومن أهم مقاصد هذا الغرض استدامة العمل، يعني استدامة العمل، واستدامة العمل في الشريعة الإسلامية في حياة المرء وكذلك بعد وفاته. لذلك يعني شرعت الأوقاف، ونحن نرى في الواقع أوقافاً لا نعهدها في الدول الأخرى أو الحضارات الأخرى. نتكلم عن أوقاف عمرها يزيد عن 1400 سنة، مثل بئر روما التي حفرها عثمان، عين زبيدة نقص 200 سنة و1200 سنة نحن نتكلم عنها. الشاهد مقاصد الشريعة الكلية بأهداف التنمية المستدامة ظاهرة. الزكاة الآن في بعض التقديرات وبعض الأبحاث تزيد على 3 تريليون. عندنا حسب إحصاءات الأمم المتحدة 670 مليون تحت خط الفقر، يعني دون $2.15. لو وزعت هذه المبالغ وحصلت بكفاءة لقضت على هذه المشكلة وقضت على مشكلة الجوع ومشكلة الصحة. الأوقاف تشير تقارير بنك التنمية الإسلامي إلى أنها في العهد العباسي والعهد الأموي كانت تمثل 60% من الخدمات المجتمعية، وكذلك هي تخدم يعني جملة أهداف. هناك مقاصد خاصة للشريعة في الأموال تكلم عنها ابن عاشور، والناس بعد ذلك أخذتها يعني عنه، لكن هو من ابتكر تقسيمها. لكن هناك زكوات وهناك تبرعات، لكل منها مقاصد مختلفة مؤداها تزكية النفس وسد حاجات المجتمع وخدمته. هناك مقاصد أخرى للتمويل الاستثماري أو التمويل الجائز الذي يعني يتفق مع بعض أهداف الشريعة الأخرى أو لا يتعارض، وإن كان لا يخدم أغراض الشريعة في الأموال، ومؤداه كل ما فيه عمارة الأرض والتحفيز للعمل والإنتاج. النموذج الذي وضع لقياس هذه توافق أهداف التنمية المستدامة مع مقاصد الشريعة هو الذي أمامكم. أتينا بالهدف، كل هدف وضع له نموذج فصلت فيها الأهداف الفرعية. أنتم تعلمون أن مقاصد التنمية المستدامة 17، لكن لكل واحد من هذه الأهداف أهداف فرعية تارجتس، ولكل تارجتس توجد إندكس أو إندكسز. هذه المقاصد أو الأهداف الفرعية 169 هدف مع المؤشرات 230، فقيست على نحو هذا النموذج. يعني مثلا القضاء على الفقر المدقع لجميع الناس في كل مكان له علاقة بأهداف الشريعة العامة كما رأينا في أول العرض، وهو كذلك يتفق مع المقاصد المالية الإسلامية، وكذلك يعني لا يتعارض. وعدم التعارض ينشأ عندما لا تكون هناك يعني لا يكون هناك اتفاق، كما في التارجتس نمبر 4 نجد هناك يعني عدم اتفاق وهناك نوع من التعارض. لأن شأن الضمانات وفي بعض القضايا الجزئية كالميراث أصلا لا يتعلق بالمالية الإسلامية، يتعلق بتشريعات، يتعلق بأمور أخرى. خلاصة نتيجة هذه النماذج أن القضاء على الفقر مثلا لا يتعارض بنسبة 85%، وهناك 15% لا نقول إنها تتعارض، لا، لكن 15% قد لا تتعلق بالمالية، تتعلق بتنظيمات، تتعلق بتشريعات، تتعلق بأمور أخرى. القضاء التام على الجوع لا يتعارض، من أكثر الأهداف انسجاما، كله التارجتس والإندكسز تبعه تتفق مع الشريعة الإسلامية. الصحة والرفاه كالفقر في قد يتعارض، وقدر بسيط يعني ليس من تشريعات وأمور لا علاقة للمالية بها. هناك التعليم الجيد، ويعني هكذا تجدون أمامكم في العرض الشراكات. الخلاصة أن أهداف التنمية المستدامة هذه عن طريق هذه النماذج، وبعد تحليل تلك النماذج التي رأيناها ورأينا نتائجها، يعني يمكن أن تضع تصور للناس ما هو الذي يعني ينبغي أن تتبناه آليات وبرامج وطنية فتستعمل موارد الدولة الإسلامية أو دولة المسلمين في خدمة تلك الأهداف. القضاء على الفقر لا يتعارض غالبا، ممكن أن يسد كذلك بالخير والاستثمار، يعني وهكذا بقية المقاصد. الغرض الرئيس من العرض السابق هو ترسيخ فكرة قياس أهداف التنمية مع مقاصد الشريعة وفق نموذج يحرص على ضبطها، تنظر فيها الأهداف الجزئية وتفحص بدقة. كذلك من نتائج النماذج هذه أنه في الحقيقة التعارض قليل جدا، لا يتجاوز 5%، لكن لا يلزم من عدم التعارض الاتفاق، قد يكون الأمر راجع إلى تشريعات أخرى. وكذلك يعني أنصح بمزيد من الدراسات ومعرفة ما يوائم كل هدف من أهداف التنمية المستدامة من أنواع التمويل الإسلامي. يعني في الأخير أشكركم جزيلا بجميع ألوان التنمية المستدامة وبجميع لغاتها.
شكرا جزيلا لك إبراهيم على هذا الطرح المميز، وبالتأكيد جميعنا نتفق أن أهداف التنمية المستدامة حتى وإن كانت صيحة خرجت مؤخرا إلا أن مغزاها وأصلها وبالذات فيما يتعلق بالاقتصاد الإسلامي يستمد الاقتصاد الإسلامي هذه المبادئ وهذه الأهداف أصالة من مقاصد الشريعة الإسلامية ومن مصادر التشريع الإسلامية، وما يخرج منها وما يخرج من فقط يعني صيحات جديدة لجذب بعض الأموال أو توجيهها إلى بعض أوجه الاستثمارات لا يتعارض مع الاقتصاد الإسلامي ولا مع مبادئه، بل إنه ينشئ أصالته ويعزز من قيمته. Thank you very much, Ibrahim, for this great presentation. And that's why I want to thank you in Arabic as well, as you have made your presentation in Arabic. This actually brings us to the end of our session now. And I cannot stand more between you and the lunch because there were a lot to digest, so lunch will help you to digest all this knowledge. But before we end this, I would like to express special thanks to Salih Kamil Islamic Economics Award for actually supporting this session. And at the same time, I would like to make a notification that if you would like to do the prayer, you have to direct yourself to -1. There is a special pray facility. You can ask one of the security team. They will lead you how to go to there. Thank you very much for that. And I would like to ask all the great researchers to come to the stage for a group photo. And for the rest of our audiences, let's meet after 45 minutes at 3 p.m. for our last activity for today. Thank you very much.